Hello, BookTube. Well, I was about to go take a nap when the mail came. And I thought, never let it be said I don't suffer from what one of you called my subbies. So rather than sleep for the first time in 50 hours, I thought I would open some book packages, which is almost the same thing. Uh, it's a small shipment this morning, which is good because I almost wasn't going to be here, and I would have worried about everything sitting on the porch in the rain. Uh, let's see here what this first one is. Uh, this is called Birds, Art, Life by Keo McClare. It's a year of observation. So yet another person takes his iPhone out into Central Park and observes birds for a year. In a world that values big and fast, a world impatient for whatever is new and flashy, Keo McClare looks at the small, the steady, the slow accumulation of knowledge, and the lulls of dormancy. This is a book about birds and birding as metaphors for how to live. Okay. Well, it comes out in January. I will almost certainly read it long before then, although I cannot help but express a note of caution about using birding as a metaphor for living. I'm assuming that the author has never met many birders. They're not really a model for living. But let's just plow on, shall we? Okay, this is Susan Parabo, The Fall of Lisa Bellow. This is a big deal in publishing, I believe. Dear reader, these things. You'll sometimes get this letter from the publisher. When I first read The Fall of Lisa Bellow, it felt like I was holding my breath to the last page. That would actually be intensely uncomfortable, and I'm sure this author means that to be pleasant. Not just because Susan Parabo attempts and achieves a high-wire act of narrative invention, not just for that, no. Nor just because I was turning the pages compulsively to find out what happens. But because you turn them anyway, right? That's kind of how books work. Oh God, it's another page to turn. But because The Fall of Lisa Parabo feels like the realization of Susan Parabo, The Fall of Lisa Bellow feels like the realization of Susan Parabo's myriad talents. After working together for nearly 20 years, that I have the honor of publishing Susan's breakout novel feels like magic. Okay, why is that then? Why would you be working with her for 20 years if this is her first novel? No hint of that in her biography. When two girls are together and one is abducted, what happens to the girl who is spared? Surprised that isn't the title of a novel in 2016, The Girl Who Was Spared. Meredith Oliver, the girl left behind, that too, wakes up in a hospital and is deemed physically unhurt. Her mother, Claire, who's watched both her teenage children slip from her protection and suffer deeply in the past year, only wants to help. But very quickly, Claire understands Meredith may be physically present, but the trauma has sent her somewhere far, far away. Filled with remarkable moments of insight and dark humor, The Fall of Lisa Bellow is a rare, chilling type of novel that you'll want to discuss and debate, and that will linger long after you turn the last page. Okay. She might be terrified. This is just a random paragraph. Well, let's see just what... I know nothing about this book. She might be terrified, the psychiatrist said. His name was Dr. Moon. He was very thin and had silver hair, so perfectly silver, that Claire was certain that friends had sung By the Light of the Silvery Moon to him on his 50th birthday party. Claire already didn't like him, though, to be fair, she did not like psychiatrists in general. She had seen a psychiatrist in college to combat test anxiety and plunged into a deep depression after half a dozen sessions. She might have nightmares. She might be afraid to leave the house. Okay, that's good. There's a lot packed into that paragraph, so we can forgive the publisher for hyperbole. So this comes out in January, February, March. This comes out in March of next year. I will certainly read it before then. Let's see here. Because despite my acerbity on the subject, I'm all for new fiction. I actually read, as friends have pointed out, friends who do nothing but read it, I read more of it than they do. I just... It's not my favorite thing. That's all. So what have we got? Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. All right. This is Rumi's Secret, the life of the Sufi poet of love, by Brad Gooch, who is a fantastic author. He wrote, it says it on the cover here, he wrote a biography of Flannery O'Connor that's great. He also wrote a book called City Poet that every one of you should read. It's he's amazingly good. And this is about Rumi. The ecstatic love poems of Rumi, a Persian poet and Sufi mystic born over 8 centuries ago, are beloved by millions of readers in America as well as around the world. He has been compared to Shakespeare for his outpouring of creativity and to St. Francis of Assisi for his spiritual wisdom. Yet his life has long remained the stuff of legend rather than intimate knowledge. In this breakthrough biography, Brad Gooch brilliantly brings to life the man who puts a face to the name of Rumi, vividly coloring his time and place, a world as rife with conflict as our own. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, and that comes out in January. So we're really not, when did this bird book come out? January. So we're out of 2016. Poor old 2016. Let's see what this one is. This is nice and heavy, so it's probably more than one book. No, it's one enormous book. Oh, this always pleases Steve. What have we got here? Oh, very good. All right, this is just a drab advance. It's At the Sign of Triumph by David Weber. And this is what it's going to look like. The sci-fi YouTubers will get the real thing. I don't do enough of it, I think, to warrant. Fantastic. Okay, this is a novel in his Safehold series. I think I've mentioned it to you before, where in the far future, a science fiction series in which humanity has been targeted by a voracious alien species that is attracted to advanced technology. And they're unbeatable. So humanity, in order to survive, sets a splinter of itself on a faraway world and deliberately hamstrings that world so there is no advanced technology. And rather than tell the larger story of why that happened or what other conflicts are happening in the larger universe, the Safehold books just deal with the maturation of society on that world. So it's yet another, the 4 of these ongoing series where we have this, where there's a larger story that we don't know why. We don't know the why of the larger story, but the smaller stories propel the series of books, and readers seem to love it. I actually love it myself. I just think it's a little bit wimpy when it comes to science fiction. The science fiction authors of the 1960s would have looked at series like this agape with horror and said, well, okay, so you're detailing in incredible length how your splinter society is developing a quasi-Catholic church, but so what? What about the aliens? But it seems to work for these authors. Okay, so this comes out in November. So there's a 2016 book, and yeah, you've got a list of praise for all the earlier Safehold books. Fantastic. I love the series, so I will dig right into this, even though it's ugly. And then the last thing we have for this morning, and after this I'm hoping that there are no doorbells so that I can sleep, is a box. I love that. It's a box, yes, but it's very lightweight. So I think this is not really publisher bounty, but rather publisher waste. I bet there'll be one book in here. It could easily have gone in a padded envelope. Yeah, we've got 20 pounds of bubble wrap. And then, oh no, all right, there are 2 books in here. Could still easily have gone in a padded envelope, but that's all right. So this is Angry Robot. And this is great. A mass market paperback, Break the Chains by Megan O'Keefe, a Scorched Continent novel. How many of them there were. I've never read a Scorched Continent novel. A year has passed since Detan Honding set the skies above Aranza on fire. Now the ravaging armies of Aranza's new dictator, Threta, are preparing to hammer down the gates of his aunt's city, Hond Stedding. As the city that produces the most celium, that precious gas that elevates airships and powers strange magic, Hond Stedding is a jewel well worth taking. To shore up the city's defenses, Detan promises his aunt that he'll recover Newly, the infamous engineer who built the century gates that protect the imperial capital of Valathea. but Newly is imprisoned on the Remnant Isles. Somebody new in every sentence here. An impervious island prison run by the Empire, and it's all Detan's fault. Detan doesn't dare approach Newly himself, so his companions volunteer to get themselves locked up to make contact with Newly and convince him to help, which means that Detan has to break them all out of prison, and he's going to need the help of a half-mad Doppel to do it. Okay. Well, I don't know the series, but it's an absolute thrill to get a mass-market science fiction novel in the mail. That's great. That'd go right to the head of the list. Maybe once I have requested Steal the Sky, which apparently is the first one. And then the other one from Angry Robot is The Rise of Io by Wesley Chu. With a very neat cover. That's a woman facing phantom soldiers on the cover. I like that. Ken Liu, who wrote The Grace of Kings, which I really liked, says, I am in awe of this book. Let's see here. Earth is in the aftermath of a civil war between two alien factions. Ella Patel, thief, con artist, and smuggler, and I would be willing to bet our cover person, is in the wrong place at the wrong time when, on the border of the demilitarized zone, she happens upon a man and woman being chased by a heavily armed gang. The man freezes, leaving the woman to fight off 5 attackers before succumbing. As she dies, to both Ella and the man's surprise, the sparkling light that rises from the woman enters Ella instead of the man. She soon realizes she's been inhabited by Io, a low-ranking Quasing who was involved in some of the worst decisions in human history. Now the useless alien is in her head and is giving every impression of trying to get her killed. And if you can't trust the voices in your head, who can you trust? Okay. Okay. So another blurb here says, years after a killer debut, Wesley Chu keeps leveling up. So Wesley Chu had a debut. What was that debut? What was that debut? Oh, come now. Wesley Chu is a dapper young man. Look at that. Seems very confident. He's written quite a few. The Lives of Tao, The Deaths of Tao, The Births of Tao. Wesley Chu is a best-selling author of both the Tao series and Time Salvager. Time Salvager and its sequel. Steve read and reviewed Time Salvager. I'll leave a link below so as not to splatter blood on the video. He won the John W. Campbell Award for the Best New Writer, and his debut, The Lives of Tao, won the Young Adult Literary Services Association Alex Award. A consultant and corporate drone in his past life, Wesley is a kung fu master, hence the air of relaxation in his photo, a member of the Screen Actors Guild, and recently returned from climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. If he had kale in his backpack, we've got a complete set. He lives in Chicago, USA, where he spends his many hours during the Great Lakes winters writing and hanging out with his wife Paula, young son Hunter, and their Airedale Terrier. Okay. Right. Well, this sounds good. So that's 2 from Angry Robot. I will send their. Actually, I'm just noticing now there is no publicity information here, no sheet, no contact. Crap. Well, I'll go to their website. I'll try and find somebody to encourage them to keep doing this, because this makes my day. So there you go. That is the Day's Haul, a bird book, biography by a great biographer, promising novel, debut novel, a gigantic science fiction novel, and 2 other science fiction novels. That's not bad. So that'll do for now, and I'm going to go to sleep. Try really hard to. I'll see you soon, BookTube.